Hi friends. I'll be starting some a series on some topics of ops and gynae since I'll be studying it for my upcoming exams. So I was thinking of covering some of these topics to help you people also out there who are probably maybe struggling with these topics or maybe just want to revise it. So without further ado, I'll be starting with my topic and I hope you like it. So the first topic I'll be encountering is partogram. It's quite an easy topic, though some of you might not think so because it can be quite daunting to plot it. So I'll try to make it a little easier. We'll be covering it into two ways. That is, first I'll be telling you about the components of partogram, and second we'll be encountering how to use it clinically. So I'll give you case scenario and we'll discuss how to approach the patient and how to plot the partogram in those case scenarios, right? So this is the partogram that we usually encounter. This is a WHO partogram. So if someone asks you about a partogram, this is the WHO partogram, standard partogram that we use, right? I'll be going around the specifications about each of these, what are the components I told you, and how to plot each of these and at what time. So before I go into that, I want to tell you that there is another version of partogram that is called the simplified partogram, right? So in that, it is basically color coded. So the area uh, left to the alert line is color coded as green, while so it is color coded green, and the area which is to the right of the action light, it is color coded red, and the area which is in between is color coded amber or yellow. So if someone asks you what is a simplified partogram, it is basically simply just a color coded partogram which has been done so to make it a little more easier, right? Okay, so before I go into what are the components, there is one or two topics, or rather questions that I would like to discuss that people might ask about partogram, right? So what are the advantages? Sorry. Um, right. So what are the advantages of a partogram? So a partogram is basically a graphical representation of the progress of labor, right? So it is helpful because it will let you know at one glance of that picture that what is happening with the patient. So, and it is easy to learn, especially in peripheries. It can be very helpful for the people who are taking care of the patients over there to see the progress of the patient. And finally, during handover, now this is actually important because see, we work in shifts, right? Doctors work in shift, but the progress of labor can't change over for that. So for a patient who has been progressing in labor for quite some time, once the handover for the next team of doctors come, the doctors know that what has happened to the patient hours before they have actually come for duty, right? So it is easy for handover also, so that we don't miss out on anything, right? So once I have gone through that, now I'll come to the components of it, and I'll be telling you each and every part of it, how to plot, what to plot, and when to plot at exactly what points, right? So what are the parts? Now this is the preliminary data, right? So this is the preliminary data about the patient. What all does it cover? It covers the name of the patient, the gravida, parity, hospital name, that is the ID of the patient, the date of admission, time of admission, if it is ruptured membrane or not, or the hours, right? So this is the preliminary data, and it is very important because you don't want to miss out on like all the hard work you have put in all of this plotting. If it goes amiss as to whose it belongs to, then the whole point is moot, right? So we need to fill out the preliminary data, right? Okay, after that we go into fetal heart rate. Now fetal heart rate, you'll ask me how often do we supposed to plot it? It is plotted every half hourly, right? So if the fetal heart is 130 at supposing 7 o'clock, again you then you check it at 7:30, it is 140, you plot it over here. Supposing it is 135, you go back to this. Then again, if it comes down to 120, this is how you plot the fetal heart rate, right? Okay, good. Now we come to the next point. That is, what we can see here is amniotic fluid, right? So amniotic fluid, how do you plot amniotic fluid? Now, if leaking is not happening, supposing the membrane is intact, okay, there is no rupture of membrane, so you'll write it as I, that is intact membrane, right? If leaking has happened but the liquor is clear, you will write it as clear, that is C. If it is meconium stain having green, then it is M. And if it is blood stain, you'll write it as B. Okay, so this is how you'll write the amniotic fluid. It will either be intact or clear or meconium stained or blood stained. It has to be out of these, right? So you'll be plotting it according to that. Coming to molding. Now, if molding is supposing present, you'll write plus. If it is absent, you'll write minus, right? And depending on the degree also, you'll be writing. If it is only first degree, it is plus. If it is 2 degree, it is 2. And if it is third degree, you'll plot 3 of these, right? So that is how you'll be plotting molding. Now we have finished fetal heart, amniotic fluid and molding. So we have done this part. Now coming to the next part, right? So this is the part that we focus on the most and should be also, but we shouldn't miss out the other parts that I am emphasizing. Now coming to this part, we'll always start plotting the partogram in the active phase. Right. Now I want to tell you about the active phase. There has been few changes about the active phase. That is, now this is very important because these are the latest guidelines that have come up. What is the active phase? Right. So as we know that stages of labor are divided. So the first stage of labor is divided into a latent phase and an active phase, right? So active phase, when do we call it active phase? When the dilatation is 4 centimeters and beyond, then it is active phase. Now this is very much correct and people still follow it, and that is how we'll be charting our part 2 and discussing our clinics. But you should know the latest guidelines. Now WHO says, this is 2018, this came a few months after this, it says 5 centimeters onwards is the active phase, while ACOG, which is the latest guideline, 2019 says it is 6 centimeters and onwards is active phase. So I know it can be quite confusing which of these should we take, 4, 5 or 6, but as of now we still continue taking 4 centimeters for plotting partograph, right? So that is how we take active phase, right? Now besides this, let us also revise the fact that in active phase the dilatation has to be at the rate of 1.2 centimeter per hour for a primary, and it has to be 1.5 centimeters per hour for a multi. Okay, and the latent phase, which is before that, that is less than 4 centimeters, the progress has to be that within 12 hours it is there for primary patient, and within 8 hours for a multi patient, right? Okay, perfect. Now we'll progress down to the next part of it. So this is how you'll, once the patient is in active phase, then you will start plotting, right? If the first time you see her she's 4 centimeters, you'll start from here. If she's 5, you'll start from here. If she's 6, you'll start from here, but you'll always start from here, right? Okay. Now this x-axis represents the time, right? Supposing she comes at 7 p.m, then it is 7 p.m. over here, and y-axis represents the cervix dilatation and descent. Okay. Another thing, very important thing, is these small boxes represent half hour, while the big boxes represent the 1 hour. So this is whole 1 hour. Okay. Now another doubt people have over here is, what about the descent of head? So basically descent of head can be plotted from -5 station to 0 station. We already know that the baby's head progresses, and when it is above, it is going to be plotted as -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. Then beyond this is +1, +2 and +3 finally. But we do not plot these in the partogram. We can only plot from -5 to 0. So if it is supposing at the first look that you had, she was -2, so you can progress it from here, and then she was at 0 at supposing 4 hours later, so you will have 1 2 3 4. This is how you will be plotting the descent of head. Okay, so I hope I'm very clear in this, because a lot of people have a lot of doubt in this, how to plot a descent of head. So this is how it should be, right? So I hope I've made it that clear. Okay, moving on, as you can see, the next is the contractions per 10 minutes. Now, contraction per 10 minutes can be plotted as mild, then it is dotted. If it is moderate, it is shaded, and if it is lined, and if it is good contractions, then you will shade the whole box, right? So I hope you know what is mild, moderate, and good contraction. When it is less than 20 second, lasting less than 20 second, it is a mild contraction. 20 to 40 second is moderate, and more than 40 second is a good contraction, right? Okay, now that we have dealt with the contractions, we'll be going on to the next part, that is the okay. So we'll be going on to the next part, that is the oxytocin. Now this is very important, because what unit you are giving at what minute, that you'll write. Supposing you are giving 1 unit at the rate of 30 drop per minute. So this is how you'll write. I'll make this a little more better. I'll make this a little better. Right. So supposing this is 1 unit and 30 drops, that is better. Okay, and the drugs you are giving, an IV fluid. Supposing you are giving RL, because the patient is in labor, she might go into dehydration, so you will be giving RL, 1 unit RL at the rate of 75 ml per hour, supposing you are giving, right? Okay, now we come to the pulse. Now pulse is to be taken every 30 minutes. Okay, every 30 minutes. Supposing she is having a pulse of 80, so you'll write 80, and since this small box represents half hour, next you'll be taking it half hour. Supposing it is 75, this is it. Next it is supposing 85, then 70. So this is how you'll be plotting, while the BP is to be taken every 4 hourly, so that you have to remember. So supposing it is 120 to 85, supposing that represents 1 hour. Then after 4 hours you will take her next BP. So supposing it is 110 to 70, so this is her next BP, right? So you will take BP every 4 hourly, and you will be taking pulse every half hourly. Okay, next comes the temperature. If the patient is afebrile, you'll be plotting a 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. Protein, if it is nil in urine, you'll be writing nil. If it is present, you are having a preeclamptic patient, write down her dipstick protein, or protein, whatever protein you are, the way you are measuring it. Acetone, if it is there, nil. And then the volume. So this is basically how you'll be plotting the partogram. So I hope you are very much clear about how to plot a partogram, right? Okay. Now, I had told you about the advantages of the partogram. So what are the disadvantages of partogram? Because that is a very important question. So one is that special management disorders not taken into account. Not accounted for. Second is very important, primary and multi, there is no difference in the parto. You are using the same parto for both of these patients, and the progressive labor is a little different for these patients, which I'll be encountering if I make a topic on labor and progressive labor. So it is quite different, these patients, but we still use the same parto. And the second is that if the patient is multi-fetal gestation, we do not take that into account over here, which again the progressive labor is a lot different in those compared to a singleton pregnant women, right? So these are the disadvantages if someone asks you, and these are very important questions, or rather points, that you should be keeping in mind, right? Okay, now that we have done this, I'll give you a case scenario. Right. So supposing you have the question says that you have a 25-year-old low risk primary gravida patient coming at 38 weeks, admitted to labor room with labor pains, and there is no leaking seam, right? Her next, you'll always see her per abdomen, right? So on per abdomen, you'll check for her contractions. So supposing 2 contractions are coming in 10 minutes and they last for around 15 seconds. So this is what? This is mild contraction. Why? Because it is lasting less than 20 seconds. So it is mild contraction, right? Now, supposing you do her PV and to check for her Bishop score, and it is 3 centimeters, 40 to 50% effaced. Vertex is -2 and you can feel a bomb present, that is bag of membrane is present, right? So what will you do? So my question is, what will you do? Right. Will you start charting the partogram? First of all, that is the question, and the answer is no. We will not start charting the partogram. Why? Because she is 3 centimeters dilated. She has not even gone into active labor. So we'll do nothing. And besides parto, are we supposed to do anything? We just wait and watch. She is in latent phase. We'll do nothing about this patient, right? Now supposing 12 hours later, you reassess the patient. Supposing she's having a little better contractions, and you start assessing the patient, right? So on per abdomen, you realize she's still having mild contractions. Her contractions are still lasting around 15 seconds. So she is still having mild contractions, fine. But is the PV any better? Yes, it is better. Now the effacement has progressed. It is around 70 to 80%. Rest all PV findings are pretty much the same. But her effacement has increased from 70 to 80%, right? So fine. So will you still do anything? No, because see, a latent phase is prolonged only if it is more than 20 hours in a primary, and if it is more than 14 hours in a multi, right? That is the only point where you call it latent, a prolonged latent phase, right? So you will leave the patient as such in this case, right? Okay, supposing another 6 hours have passed, right? So now you'll see again her contractions, and now her contractions are 3 contractions coming within 10 minutes, lasting around 20 to 25 seconds. So now can you tell me what are the contractions? These are moderate contractions, right? So these are moderate contractions. And on PV, voila, we have 4 centimeters dilatation, which is and fully effaced cervix, and vertex is +0. Sutures lie in left occipito anterior position. So now what are we supposed to do? So now we can finally start plotting our partogram, the thing that we have been waiting for, right? So we'll fill out her name, her gravida, parity, ID, date of admission, time of admission, ruptured membranes, hours, everything, and fetal heart that we auscultate, right? So she is 4 centimeters, right? So supposing right now it is 3 p.m. So we'll plot it as this. And where is her station? Her station is at -2. Sorry, this is -2. Okay, so this is at -2, right? So this is how we'll do. And her contractions are moderate, right? So these are 3 contractions per minute and they are moderate. So we can plot this. We're not starting on any oxytocin. We don't need to. She's going in a very spontaneous absolutely normal labor, so we don't have to do anything about the oxytocin. Drugs, if RL is being plotted, we'll write that. And pulse, BP, whatever her pulse is, and we have taken one BP, at least baseline BP, that we'll plot. Temperature we'll write if it is nil, because I said no, low risk, so it is nil, and whatever her urine volume is, right? So that is how you'll start the part, or you not just plotting the alert and action line part, the whole thing. It is very important, right? Now supposing after about 4 hours, right, you check. See, once the patient goes into active labor, you assess her after 4 hours. That is what you do. So unless until you have done an intervention, then it is 2 hours. That I'll come to. Otherwise it is 4 hours, right? So after 4 hours, she is supposing 10 centimeters and her station is 0, right? So now we'll plot it. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7 p.m. and at this point her dilatation is 10 centimeters. So this is good. This has not passed the alert line, so she has progressed beautifully and now she can deliver normally. Normal vaginal delivery can happen, right? So perfect. This was a low risk patient. Everything went beautifully. No need to do anything. And that was the normal case. That was a low risk case scenario, that you can say. Okay. Supposing the same patient, you see that after 4 hours, she is still at, supposing at she is at 7 centimeters dilatation, right? So now it is not left to the alert line, it has crossed the alert line, right? So it has crossed the alert line. So and you have been you have been taking into account her contractions also. Right. So supposing this has crossed the alert line, so what will you do next? So you will augment the labor. What will you do? You will augment the labor. How will you do this? You will either do rupture of membrane, that is artificial rupture of membrane, or if the membrane has already ruptured, you will start with the oxytocin, right? So we will rupture the membrane, and after that onwards you'll be starting to plot this also. If it is clear, then you'll write clear, right? So that is how we'll intervene in this case if this has not progressed, right? Okay, supposing I take a case scenario 3, right, in which right, so if supposing at 7 p.m, right, so this is where her 7 centimeters was, right? So I have started her on oxytocin. We are continuing the same scenario. We have started her on syntocinon, supposing, right? Now after 2 hours, I would like to check if she has progressed or not. If she has wonderfully progressed and she is 10 centimeters, wonderful, voila, we have done what was needed and she will deliver beautifully. If she does not progress even at 9 p.m. and she continues to be at 7 centimeters, so we'll check for what is the problem, right? So we have 3 P's. We have power, we have passage, and we have passenger, right? So the passage power is where that is the only thing that is under my control. I can control the symptom I am giving. I can control at what rate I am giving the rupture of membrane. I can control that. Passage is where if it is no cephalopelvic disproportion, no actual anomaly to the passage through which the baby has to pass, and the passenger, that is if the baby has any macrosomia, any malformation which will hinder the baby's progress. Only monitor her power or manipulate her power, right? So at this point I will again supposing her contractions have gone down to mild, right? So I will give her Synto according to her contractions. So oxytocin has to be given according to contractions, right? Supposing it is still stuck at 7 centimeters, right? So this is called arrest of dilatation. That is, there is no progress of dilatation even after 4 hours. Then it is called arrest of dilatation. Then I need to see into it and I have to take her for section, right? Supposing there is another case scenario where there has progress happened, but the baby's head is at 0 station and it is still at 0 station, and after 2 hours it is still at 0 station. Then what will